Hello, everyone, and welcome to the actual episode of Backtracking. And you know what? We're just going to jump into it after we cover the Interrupters, well, briefly in the very brief history video. We're going to start with the Interrupters' debut album. In this video, The Interrupters. Some gags never die, and this one really should. Anyway, released in 2014, I couldn't actually find a producer for this one, but it's safe to assume that it was Tim Armstrong of Rancid that handled that. To be fair, judging by the album sound, that honestly wouldn't surprise me. The album kicks off with Take Back the Power, a fast-paced, boppy song, and it's a good tone setter for the rest of the album's sound, maybe the band sound as a whole. The album honestly just feels like it was produced by Tim Armstrong. It has his stamp all over it, obviously, but I like it when the producer is truly passionate about the album that they're producing, and there are many great examples of that on this album. The band themselves are obviously the other half of that equation, and it would be easy to say that lead vocalist Amy Allen has a lot of charisma and gets people invested in what she says, but the fact that the 3 by Varner Brothers get as much backing vocal work on the album as she does is quite nice. And I like that. It doesn't feel like anyone overshadows anyone, and it feels balanced and equal between all of them. The album has a great sense of its pacing, keeping a steady toe-tapping beat that flows so well into each successive song, and it's just a fun breeze of a listen. It's short, but it fills its time well, and overall, I'd recommend the album. It's a good starting point for the band, and it's a good starting point for new fans who want to get into them. It's chock full of great songs, but the one I'd recommend the most is probably A Friend Like Me. The Interrupters play their hearts out in a well-produced, well-put-together, and well-charming debut album. As I said earlier, it's a good starting point, so get listening to it. We then move on to the band's 2016 sequel, Say It Out Loud. Once again, I'm presuming that Tim Armstrong had a hand in producing this one. The album also features a lot of guest spots, which makes it more surprising, as there wasn't any on their first album, since Tim does like a guest spot when he's involved with the albums he's producing. But still, the Interrupters made up for having none on their debut by having way more for the sequels, so let's go through those. Dickie Barrett of the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones appears on the song The Prosecutor. Tim Timebomb Armstrong, as well as Ruben DeRosa and Mark Bush of the band Voodoo Glow Skulls, appear on the song Phantom City. That's 2. Almost all of Less Than Jake appear on the song You're Going to Find a Way Out. Deanna Bogart of the band Cowboy Jazz and the Boyvon Brothers' father Gary appear on the song The Valley. And on the closing track Loyalty, the entirety of Rancid appears on that. So, yeah. Whew. To be fair, those guest spots do point to a more experimental angle for this album. Ska punk is known for its use of trombones and the like, but the fact that it went to so many guest musicians made it feel a bit more important, which I quite like. The band are obviously just as good as carrying themselves too, and the lyrics are a bit darker in my opinion. They were already political before, but this time around there are songs about domestic abuse, feminism, and self-control. It's a great juxtaposition of happy-sounding music against heavy lyrics, and when it's done right, it sounds amazing. Sort of a bit like OK by As It Is in 2017. It reminds me a bit of that. The album is a really consistent follow-up to their debut, doing enough to not just sound the same, and thanks to the experimental looks and darker tones, it boosts those positives higher. My most recommended song would have to be Loyalty. Even though the album is maybe the band's longest, they fill all 14 songs and with a delicately balanced tone, carrying a sense of fun while also being mature and just really well put together. It's constructed quite well. It doesn't feel like 14 songs, it feels like it goes by faster, but you still get all that you need from it, so good shit. And finally, we reach the band's third and most recent album, Fight the Good Fight. This one came out in 2018. I think it was produced by Tim Armstrong, I don't know, it's a bit more subtle this time. And not only is it my first album by the band, but it also contains my first song by them titled She's Kerosene. Wunderbar! Thankfully, this album only has one guest spot as Rancid appear on the song Got Each Other, the title of which is honestly a great description of the band's history with their label, Hellcat Records obviously, in that they've been with them for a good while, they love working with them, and Tim has appeared on each album in some capacity. In terms of songs on this album, it finds a healthy middle. Their debut had 10, the sequel had 14, this one has 12. I'd say there's the Goldilocks effect of being just right, but honestly, with a back catalogue this good, there's not a lot to hate about it, with the amount of songs they have on previous albums, so all I have to say. To be fair, you'd think that with 3 albums in a row of this particular style, it would get boring and start losing ideas, but it's thankfully the complete opposite of that. Fight the Good Fight seems to only enhance what the band has already been good at, making it something that the fucking wicked kick ass at instead. And it's not just the music either. The lyrics take a big leap forward, still retaining the darker subjects that Say It Out Loud had, but the tone of the music really makes it sound a bit more positive. It's such a great sense of not just repeating what they were doing before, or rather repeating the stuff that bears repeating. The instruments are more pronounced, there's some fantastic guitar work, Amy's voice leads the charge furiously, Tim Armstrong's production is brilliant. I definitely recommend you listen to this one. It's one of my favorite albums of 2018 for a damn good reason. The most recommended song, it's a toss-up between Got Each Other and Gave You Everything, but I measured out in slight favour of the latter. Even though Got Each Other is fantastic and describes, as I said earlier, describes the band's relationship with Rancid, and Rancid are awesome. I feel I gave you everything just a tiny bit better, but there's not really a lot to hate about the songs or the album itself, obviously. But, this is a new format for backtracking, so I've got to do what I've got to do. And, I've got to move on now to the ending before I dawdle any longer. Anyhow, that's it. That was episode 1 of season 5 of Backtracking. I hope that you all enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode where I cover the band One Eyed Doll. Until then, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye bye. I have a cat.